Okay, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit and do some questions here for each of you. And we're gonna start with Adam. And the first question I have, which has already been brought up a couple times, is around AI. So because of the last 2 years or so here, where we've had it becoming more and more prevalent in education, are there specific examples that of how you've used it? For really anything that you want to talk about, but brainstorming ideas or for assignments. What are some things that you've done that are interesting?
Yeah, so AI helps with the creation of different lesson plans. It's been awesome because we don't have a set textbook curriculum. The textbooks that we have are in my file cabinet, and literally one of them has my name in it, and it's like one of the last names in there, right? So resources are difficult to come by. Um, it's been great for creating new texts. Notebook LM is wonderful because I'm able to go and copy and paste different online resources, whether it's the American Yop, Britannica, all these things, and put them in there, and then say, hey, I'm looking to create a short 3-page reading on this for my students to read. Can you please create that? And then ask questions related to it. And it's able to present something that's really, really great. Of course, with anything AI, you don't just copy and paste it and put it onto Classroom. You have to go through and edit, but it takes a lot of that work out of it and makes it more streamlined, which is awesome. But also working with students with AI is wonderful. I'll have students that begin a project and they get stuck, and then literally on my phone, the Chat GPT, the voice assistant is wonderful because you could just open that up and press, hey, I have a student that's stuck with this right now. What do you think are some things that we could do? And my AI assistant kind of reasons through some of these things, which is awesome. An example of that would be I have students design cereal boxes based on important European events. So we had like one on Greece, and the name of it was Greasy's, right? Like Greasy's peanut butter cups. And students get confused with the names. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'm doing something on Winston Churchill. What should I do? Open up the Chat GPT and say, a student's designing this cereal box. It's based on Winston Churchill. Can you suggest some fun, clever names? And it'll list 10, and then the student gets to pick one that they think is awesome. It helps a lot with that type of thing. And then the other part of AI that I just genuinely love is we in American history, we tend to read a lot of really old texts, a lot of old primary sources, and being able to take a random Federalist paper, copy it, paste it into Chat GPT, and say, please translate this for a ninth grader today or a 10th grader, whatever reading level my student's at. And it submits something that has all of the core ideas, but it's translated, is amazing. It also helps with modifying things for students with special education services and different accommodations. It's awesome because I can take my tests, upload it, and say, here's the accommodation for a student. I never put the student's name, of course, right, into Chat GPT, and it will modify the test for me according to whatever that student has accommodations for, and create the answer key and everything, able to print it out, give it to the student, and it's perfect. So AI has definitely helped me a lot. I do worry though, the worst day of my teaching career was when Snapchat released their own AI. And students were like, I'm just going to ask my Snap AI this. And it created some good answers. But at the same time, it's like, dude, you're a 10th grader and you don't have this style of writing. You're not a college student, right? So it's easy to see, but students now have access to it in a lot of different ways. That is terrifying.
Yeah, certainly. Let's transition that a little bit too. Still on that idea of AI, and I know
Mhm.
I would say teachers that I come across, you're definitely ahead of the learning curve when it comes to the use of AI and student use of AI as well. But what about other teachers in your building? Is there that opportunity for them to be able to harness that, or do you sense there's a lot of concern from other teachers that are in your building? Is there a way to kind of lead teachers down that trail in a professional development format of some sort, that could get them, I'm not saying trying to get them all to the point where I feel like you're at, but to get them to adjust, to change, to move the needle a little.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it already has certainly happened where we have many teachers, myself and then Betsy Carpenter, who went to ISTE with you guys last year. We've been kind of talking a lot about AI and how to integrate it in English and geography, and even brainstorming ideas of how to create some cross curricular content. But Jeremy, you came in earlier this year and you delivered an excellent PD. That was the first of 3, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, I have a
Of
3-part
AI.
presentation. I gave the first part.
Yeah, and what
Yep.
was amazing was right after that, we had our shop teacher who I had, and he's been around Rush City forever. He's a great guy, wonderful teacher, but he handwrites all of his Google Forms and all of that stuff. He has been amazed at how ChatGPT can make his life easier when it comes to creating these Google Forms. But no, he is able to do wonderful things with this and integrate technology in a new way, where now it makes his job a lot easier, where he's able to have more days working in the shop with these students rather than trying to come up with these quizzes while students work on other homework or whatever. It's amazing. It's really, truly awesome.
So, Adam, I was going to talk a little bit about with you about social studies, and one of the things that social studies differs in some ways is the critical thinking and analysis. I think you brought up earlier like primary sources and stuff like that. How do you ensure that AI supports rather than replaces some of those skills that we know students need to be able to have? Because not just to read or summarize a document, but to be able to understand it and apply critical thinking and analysis to it.
Absolutely. And I think that the whole point is to make things easier to understand, but history comes from how we interact with it, right? It's changed how I assess students learning and assess how they're growing. I'm no longer asking the date, name, documents questions. Those are no longer relevant in my classroom because you can Google that really, really quickly. What I am now asking are more opinion-based questions. Hey, this person said this. How do you feel about that? How would John C. Calhoun and Sojourner Truth interact with each other, considering the fact that they're around at the same time and we've learned about both of these people? Create a one-page dialogue discussing how they would talk about the issues of slavery and how they see that. And it's helped me integrate more ideas when it comes to the opinion, just more than base information.
Cool. One of the things that gets talked about a lot, at least in our world of the technology integration sort of thing, is this idea of AI literacy for students, right? If you're going to have these tools, for the rest of your life, who knows? And they're never going to be any dumber than they are today, right? How can we get kids the opportunity to be able to practice using AI, but do so in that responsible and ethical manner? Especially when it comes, when you talk about a content area like social studies, where it is sometimes politically charged. How do we avoid some of those, mishaps that could occur along the way, but make it a learning experience at the same time?
Yeah, I think it's modeling. I really do think it's coming up with these modeling expectations for students. An example would be, I was talking about George Washington or something, and I went onto the ChatGPT assistant and I said, make a school appropriate rap about George Washington doing X, Y, and Z and include these vocab terms. And it did the stupid little rap. It was funny. My kids thought it was hilarious. And then it went, now here's the non-school appropriate version of the rap. And quickly exiting out of that as quickly as possible. It shows kind of how AI can fail to students. And I've shown examples of what slideshows look like when it's AI generated. And then that, Mr. Engel, that's boring. Why would I do something like that, right? Showing students that it is a tool more than a replacement is, I think, really what's important here. And this is a conversation that Cindy and I have talk about a lot when it comes to art and the creation process, is that it is important that we take ownership of whatever we're creating. I don't just have ChatGPT create all of my stuff and then I copy and paste it onto Google. That is unacceptable. It's unethical, in my opinion. It's our job to teach students the standards and the curriculum in the best way possible. And AI is a tool with that. It's not the replacement. And modeling that for students is huge. Anytime I use ChatGPT to do something, if I'm summarizing up a TED Talk, I always put summarized by ChatGPT. Putting it out there, this is a tool, not the replacement. It's here to help. It helps a lot.